it's Sam again from Rainbow Stitches, coming at you looking like a hot mess because we're going to be doing some work today. It's not Whip Wednesday or anything, but we need to get this finished. This Fat Quarter Fizz Quilt. I'm going to show you how to baste it, and we can go over some thoughts and ideas for quilting. I'm probably going to straight line quilt. I'm going to show you what kind of batting I use, and we're going to make the backing together. So let's get into it. Right, so here are the things you're going to need. You've got your quilt top, the batting that you're going to use for the middle, your quilt backing, and the spray that you're going to use to hold it together. You can get this at any local craft store really, and I've actually also found this at Walmart. I super love it. You want to make sure it's a temporary bond, and on the back you'll find that it is one that washes away with warm water, or any water, I think, really. So yeah, just checked. It says it cleans up with soap and water. It doesn't necessarily say warm water or anything like that. Just because I like really crinkly quilts, and this is cotton, I always throw it in a warm water cycle. And since this is gonna go to a mom/baby, it's gonna go with baby detergent. Yeah, I would wash this the exact same way that I wash a normal blanket. The way that I quilt them and everything, and the materials that I use them so that it doesn't fall apart in the wash, because I'm expecting the people that I give my quilts to wash them several times. So, and I always put it through a wash cycle before giving it, because if there's a stitch that falls out in the wash the first time, I can always redo it. It's happened before, so I just do it to double check. I want to show you on the batting that you get. Obviously, they're going to show you the size. On the back of this one, it says that you can leave up to 10 inches open, meaning that you will have to stitch at least 10 inches apart from itself. You can make a 10-inch circle, and this will technically hold up. I don't like pushing it to the limits like that, so when it says up to 10 inches apart, the most I do is 8. So we need to take the quilt top, measure it out to see how big we need the backing fabric to be. We'll have to cut that and then sew the two pieces together long ways. And then I'll take you to my living room and we'll get it all basted. So you'll take your quilt top, and I've got it folded into quarters. Measure the length, multiply by 2, that's your total length. Measure the width, multiply by 2, that's your total width. And then you're going to take this fabric, and I would say add 2 inches to both of those calculations, or more. You could do 3 inches, 4 inches, whatever you want. Give you 2 inches on each side to wiggle with, no problem. Measure this fabric to be bigger than how big you measured the top, and then cut 2 pieces that length, and then we'll sew them down the middle. I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so I wanted to give you the big picture here. I've got this folded in half, and then half again, and then obviously this little flap so that I could fit it all on my desk to show you. You've got it folded in quarters. You're going to smooth it, kind of stretch it so you're getting the full length, starting at 0 over here. And then this goes just a little bit past my 36. So I'm going to call this 37. Just so you can see my little maths here. Got 37 times 2 because we folded it in half. So it is 74 inches by Same thing this way. We'll start at the 0, kind of give it a smooth pull, and that's kind of coming to 30 1/4. So I'm going to call that 31 because I want to round up for my backing fabric. And 31 times 2 is 62. So 74 by, well, just 62 is how big our quilt is. So I need to take my backing fabric. I absolutely love this fabric. I got way too much so I can save some from extra other projects, but you won't tell anybody, right? You're not going to tell? Alright, so we've got this folded in half. And basically, if I can get to the end of this, we've got this folded in half. So this is 74. This is already folded in half off the bolt. See, 2 layers here. This expanse is 44 inches. And you can double check that. Take it down to the 0 on your mat. And it comes a little bit past the 22, but you really don't want to count your measurements until you're past the selvage. So I've got my 0 at the selvage line down here, and that's almost 22. So we'll say this is 42 inches wide. Okay, and if you're working with the 74 by 62, it's easier for you to go long ways with more fabric than it is widthwise. So basically you're going to need this width of fabric plus another width of this fabric, and technically that would make like 84 inches. We need 62. It's fine. We're going to have to deal with it. But if it's already 84, it could take care of the 74 and we wouldn't waste as much fabric. Does that make sense? So we're going to do it widthwise. So we'll divide the 62 in half, cut it at 31, but we'll be cutting 4 pieces of fabric. So, okay, so hopefully all that made sense. It does in my head, but everybody does math differently, and unfortunately, quilting is a lot of math. So, I've basically got 4 layers of fabric on top of each other, because this is still folded in half, right? And then we've got it on top of another, which is folded in half. We are going to line this up so that this fold over here is on the 31. I've got all of my extra yardage over there, and we're going to kind of shorten this because we don't want to cut more off than what we need, simply because, like I said, this fabric is awesome and I don't want to waste any. Right, and that's still 3 inches more, so let's scoot our fold down a little more, and you're going to try and line this up. I know you can't see the 0 line over here, but do the best that we can. Just a little bit more, get some smoothing in there. Push that down to 0. And I'm a little over 31, and that's perfect because I'm going to cut this fold and I'm going to cut that to line it up down there and make it pretty. So we'll start here, and you can basically line this right up. Just line up this bottom line with the bottom part of your fabric here. Make sure all 4 pieces are that length. And your regular rotary cutter should be able to get through this. I've got the cute one with sparkles this time. Alright, so that's all we wasted off of that side. And then I'm going to scoot it down until I'm kind of in the center of my mat so I'm not cutting into anything else. Alright, and I want to make this lined up and pretty. So I'm going to line up this line on the bottom again. Pull the protector back. And a lot of people are not comfy with cutting with their non-dominant hand. If that's the case, you're going to have to flip it. I just find that really complicated, so I don't. So again, there's some ways to get it squared up. There's the rest of my yardage. And here are the 2 big pieces that I need. So I'm going to be real with you. And one of my favorite things about quilters who quilt online is when they admit their mistakes. I messed up. I should have folded this one more time in half, long ways, to get the right length. So right now, we have the width that we need, right? Because the 2 of these together make, what was it, 84? So that'll take care of the 74 length. However, I cut this at 31. So even though we're joining these 2 together to make the length, we didn't get this wide, or I didn't get this wide enough. So I've got to do the same thing all over again. We're going to pull this down. Maybe if I can get my fabric to behave itself. And cut another 31 inches. Probably ought to go to 33 this time, just to make up for seam allowances and like having the extra fabric. So we'll do 33 this time. Fold it in half. So again, you're still slicing through 4 pieces of fabric. I'm down to the 33. Does that reach my 0? No, not quite. I need a couple more inches. Now it's going to start being a pain and not cooperating with me, of course. Alright, run your hand over everything, make sure it's smooth. Get this down to the 0 line. And we are a little past 34, and I'm not going to fuss with it. So let me get my ruler again. Line up this bottom line so it's straight and flat. So instead of this being 2 super long pieces that you should be sewing together, I've now got mine in quarters. And since this is a straight edge, I'm going to cut it as close to that line as possible. Well, now it doesn't look straight. Oh, good thing I checked. There's a fold under here. smooth it out so you don't get anything wonky. And you can always iron this before you do it, but when you get this much yardage at once, typically it's kind of flat off the bolt anyways. All right, so now I've got my 4 pieces. We'll sew 2 pieces together, sew 2 pieces together, and then sew them all together long ways. So basically, these 2 pieces are going to get sewn together at the short end. So right here. This piece right here is where you will sew this piece to this piece. Same thing on the other 2 pieces if you ended up quartering it like I did. If you ended up getting 2 long pieces of fabric because you folded this twice instead of just once, like you're supposed to, then you'll be doing this on the long end. So let me get this all sewn together and create a backing, and then I'll show you how to put it all together. So one thing I didn't mention, I left the selvages on. I feel like it makes the backing stronger if of course I'm going to sew on this side of the selvage, but I feel like it makes the backing stronger when I leave it there so that my seam allowance is bigger. And that also is the reason that I switched my foot to this gigantic see-through piece. Hopefully you can see that. Alright, so like I said, I have to, because I messed up. So these 2 pieces together, the other 2 pieces together, and then I can do 1 long seam down the middle to make the backing. I'll take you for the journey, and then we'll go to my living room and start basting. Welcome to my living room. This is my rug. I've got all my supplies, the top, batting, basting spray, and backing all on my couch. I'm going to show you how we lay out the backing nice and smooth, lay out the batting on top of it nice and smooth, and then we go in between the 2 layers with the spray, get that all settled down in. Then you'll lay the top on nice and smooth, and same thing. You'll go underneath of it and spray. Get it all sandwiched together. That's how you make your quilt sandwich. Let me speed it up. I'll show you how I do it. It's basted. You have a quilt sandwich now. It's all stuck together with basically fabric safe glue. That's gonna come off when you wash it. I've got these gigantic scissors. They're flat on the bottom for this exact purpose because, as you can see, there's way more batting and backing fabric than what we need. So I'm gonna leave probably a 2-inch gap from the end of my top to where I'm cutting, and the rest, some people save batting and put it in like stuffed animals or pillows and stuff like that. I don't have the storage space to do that, once again, unfortunately. There's probably enough backing fabric that is extra that you probably could do most of the binding for your quilt if you wanted to skip buying binding and hope and pray. that you have enough backing. I wouldn't suggest it. I'd follow the pattern and get the amount of backing that you need. Anywhooser, I'm gonna go around, cut all this, and then we'll get it quilted. So it's all basted. You've got yourself a quilt sandwich. Either, like me, call it quits because you're chasing around a toddler, or you can start quilting it. I think I'm gonna make quilting my next video for you. So it'll probably take me a good 3 hours to quilt, even with straight line quilting. In the interim, really consider if you just want to do straight lines over this thing like I do, or if you want to do something really intricate like serpentine lines in each little block, which, I mean, I might sneak a couple of those into a couple blocks. I don't know yet. It depends. Let me know in the comment section how you'd quilt it. If you have any pro tips, if you're a pro watching this, and you know, not to make fun of my cutting mistake or anything, but if there was something that needed mentioned that I didn't mention, or thoughts for a different video I can do, because as you might have noticed, I cannot complete one project without starting another one. So anyways, I'll see you in the next video when I quilt it.